Morning. All right, we've lost him on the line, but hopefully we will get back to him. For now, though, let's just cross over back to that briefing.
Appeal, our date is on Wednesday. We hadn't told you that it is on Wednesday. Don't worry. Hii Wednesday kesho. Wakitaka hata isongeshe after 1 month. Si ndio? Yes. Si walifikiri kutupeleka jela ita call off strike. So tume call off strike. Mnakumbuka kitu niliwaandikia? Guys, I wrote for you. I'm in a mood of escalate, occupy Afia House, night vigil, industrial area, Langata Women's Prison. Sindio? Na nikawaandikia escalate. Let me just be honest with you. We knew you were going to jail today. We all knew. Have you heard? But you don't care. Si hata jela ni za watu? Yes. Si Raila alienda jela? Yes. Si Nelson Mandela alienda jela? Yes. Mimi nishaienda jela, by the way. Si ati hii ni news.
All right, we now have the Secretary General of COTU, Francis Atwoli, joining us online. Good morning, sir. Smriti Vidyarthi here, and my colleague also, Ken Mijungu. Thanks for joining us. What is your reaction to the latest developments this morning?
This was not a matter that which would have warranted the union officials to go to jail, because this was purely industrial relations matter, and where the employer was willing to sit on the table on give and take basis. The only problem that has prompted this situation to be where it is, bearing in mind that Kenya is among the top world negotiators on issues of industrial relations practice in the world, is that there were some other players within the doctors and the advisors who had fixed mind on a goal that they want to achieve, which is beyond normal, genuine industrial relations practice. Because when I took over on 6th, I've been talking to the government, and the government yielded by giving out an amount of money which is enormous, that is between 408 and 500 million monthly on allowances to increase on what President Kenyatta had done. And in our negotiation system, you can only do that where employees adamant. It's not giving. And normally we separate the negotiations of collective bargaining agreement and a return to work formula. And there is no way in the world you can negotiate with your employer under duress. So normally you enter into a return to work formula and you set parameters on which you want to negotiate. And we had already set that, isolated those. And the amount of money government was to pay was to become ineffective as from 1st January this year, as opposed to SRC implementation of public service wages in July. So this is, to me, if you ask me as an old hand in industrial relations player, this is purely politics and some people who want to achieve their own interests and using the union to achieve that. And that one I have evidence, because I have already said the PS Minister of Health has an agenda, and they are not coordinating, they are not reading from the same page with the cabinet secretary. And I've appealed to the president without fear of contradiction that he must separate the two if he's to achieve anything. Because this might be as a result of the audit which was carried in the Ministry of Health, and found some people culpable, and some are blaming one and another and so on, and they would like to use such a situation to continue causing a problem. The other issue is of those senior doctors, as I did say yesterday, who own their own private clinics also. They might, it's not that they might, they are a little bit connected to this by misadvising these young people and giving them solidarity fund in order this strike to continue for the purposes of gaining. And anything we do as labor leaders, we must also be patriotic to our ideals and mandates. And this is what is lacking in this exercise. And I've said this time and again that it is not normal. Otherwise, we would have, when I took over, I asked the government, why do I get me something little bit to appease on top of what would have had given to make these doctors go back on duty? So the government was bitter that people have already died Why do we give you more money, Mr. Tuori? Because people have already died. We are contemplating, we are thinking to withdraw our offer. But I pleaded with them and they agreed. And when I met the doctors up midnight, trying to plead with them. We normally negotiate in good faith and trust based on give and take basis. They do not want to hear, which means they are fixed minded. And you know, they are not properly trained in industrial relations negotiators. They got in a union another day. They are supposed to listen to us, people who have we are having an older hand in these matters. So this is beyond normal industrial relations practice, as I was trained as an industrial relations practitioner.
All right, Mr. Tuoli, my question is, you've mentioned the government, you've mentioned speaking to President Uhuru Kenyatta, you've mentioned CS Mailu, and you've mentioned Muraguri. It looks as though you were speaking to 5 individuals, including this individual called the government. Who exactly have you spoken to, and why is it that it was still impossible to get a deal for the doctors? Did you meet as a whole group, or you met these people individually?
No, when the meeting was going on, I didn't talk to President Kenyatta, but I spoke to the government through through Mr. Joseph Kinyua, who is in charge of staff at the State House, who later met, I think, the CS Health, and then they gave us that offer. What I'm saying, I haven't met Nicholas Muraguri, though Nicholas Muraguri was supposed to lead the government delegation on the letter that we have in our possession written by the cabinet secretary. He did not appear in the meeting even one day, but he was communicating with the union leadership. Yeah, that causes a lot of suspicion. So this is where we are. But we had a meeting. Once you achieve this, and then there will be court shift on another issue again, and you say this is the way, let us go fast on our return to work formula, agree on the parameters that can make people go back on duty as we negotiate CBA, because there is nowhere in the world where you can negotiate a CBA when workers are on strike. 2, CBA has about 40, from 26 to 40 clauses and appendices. You cannot negotiate CBA in a week or in a month and you finish. So you must give it time to look at those things like allowances, risk allowances, transport, holidays, hours of work, and so on. Those things take time. It's not something you can. But when somebody has a fixed mind, he says it is CBA or never, then he's not negotiating in good faith.
All right. Finally, for me, it looks as though you are getting frustrations from all ends, or both ends, from both the government and from the officials.
Actually, not from the government.
Okay. But you are not...
From my own colleagues, from my own union officials.
Okay.
Because you see, COTU is a responsible trade union movement in this country, and it has history, including our own unions. I come from a large union. This is Kenya Plantation and Agricultural Workers Union, with more than 300,000 members. If we are not responsible trade union movement, we cannot be able to attract employers to give us that whatever we want, or to enter into any kind of negotiation with employers. And Kenya has gone far in matters of industrial relations practice. We no longer bank tables. We no longer demand things from a known point of view. We demand things as related to the situation at that particular time, bearing in mind issues related to the economic indices.
As the COTU Secretary General, you understand that the mediations or the negotiations cannot go on without Ouma Oluga on that table. What is the likely scenario going forward?
We had already indicated all those scenarios to them. Not only that, now being put in jail now as a labor leader, you must clear your name, because that is already a criminal offense. And there are a lot of things which face labor leaders all over the world. You are put in, but you should be put in on something that was unavoidable. This was avoidable situation that does not warrant you to be put in. And in any case, when the employer and the government is willing to talk, why should you allow yourself to go in jail?
All right, Mr. Atwoli, you know, COTU wanted sort of a hands-off approach because you talked about infighting, but now that these doctors are in jail, what action in particular is COTU going to take, if any?
I think I'm trying to consult with my friends in Kenya National Commission of Human Rights. We want to sit together maybe before this afternoon and see the way forward. But what is remaining now, the remaining membership must have an ad hoc committee which will lead the negotiation on behalf of those doctors who are already in jail. Because they are all members and it is not necessary to negotiate on their behalf. They need to sit down and appoint a few of them who will be able to start now through, and I would advise through the Minister of Labor now, because there is that bad blood between the Minister of Health amongst themselves, first of all, peers, and then the officials. So they should use the Minister for Labor now,
right.
Sister Phyllis Kandie, to chair now any negotiations there, because she's now the most neutral person and a person in a right position to look into those areas.
All right, thank you very much for your time and for your insight. Speaking to us live on phone, Francis Atwoli, the Secretary General of COTU. Do remember to chime into this on social media. You can tag at NTV Kenya, at Ken Mijungu, at Smriti Vidyarthi. Give us your feedback and we will sample your views later on. But for now, let's just take you back to the Railways Club where the doctors there are being addressed.
Some of our members na tunaambia madaktari wote ambao wako Nairobi wanaendelea kufuata on Facebook watoke pale walipo waje hapa. Number two, because some of us, I want to give an example of myself. I came all the way from Nyamira at night. Eddie Zomo came all the way from Malindi at night just to come and show solidarity. I want to invite a member, a registrar from KNH who is in solidarity with the colleagues, because some of our union leaders were registrars. So whoever who's strong enough, who can give a word of comfort, kindly come. Members, as GGA is going to speak to us, every time I see the post of GGA, it is comfort to my soul. Those of us who are on Facebook and we are about to lose it, and you see that post of GGA, you begin escalating. So we are here. I know after this talk, we will be ready to escalate. Escalate! Escalate! Escalate!
Comrade power! Power! Comrade power! Power! Now, I've had to travel very long distance overnight to be here for... I couldn't make it to the court, but at least I was able to make it to Railways. Huh? And I just want to say a few things. The facts of the dispute has been lost to sideshows. The facts of the issues have been lost to sideshows. The sideshow has been driven by the Council of Governors, chaired by His Excellency Peter Munya and several of his governors. That is a sideshow. Who was in court, who was pursuing the so-called contempt proceedings against the KMPDU? That case was filed by who? The Council of Governors. the same Council of Governors, when we sought them out to respect the ruling of Honorable Mondi Kambaru delivered on 6th of October 2016, to isolate issues in the CBA that needed to be negotiated, they never showed any goodwill to come to the table. Instead of coming to the table to address the issues, they decided to open a sideshow called contempt proceedings. So wherever they are, I know they are happy. I saw their lawyer happy that justice must be served, doctors must be jailed. It's all right. It's 30 days. For those 30 days, we suspend any engagement. Thank you. Because I believe the contempt proceedings that the Council of Governors started against the union were in bad faith. Yes. If the Council of Governors wanted a resolution of the dispute of the CBA, they should have come to the table, asked for the ruling of the Honorable Mondi Kambaru, and we go through it article by article up to the end. Instead, they sought to defeat the facts by resorting to starting a contempt proceeding so that they could defeat the intention of Ministry of Health, KMPDU, and every other party, including SRC and the Ministry of Labor. The effort was towards looking at the issues that were isolated. So the contempt proceedings were a distraction. They remain a distraction. They are not solving the substantive issues of the CBA, which are the issues that we should be talking about. So for the next 30 days, while our colleagues will be in jail, all I request of the doctors is stay solid with your colleagues. If there is any work you are doing, which for me, I suspended any clinical work on 5th December. I've never done any clinical work since 5th. Because it is in bad faith for a party to distract everyone. People go to the table, people try to look at the CBA article by article, and I know the 7 union leaders who have been jailed. In the last 14 days, I know they have had no less than 7 meetings with the SRC, with Public Service Commission, with the Ministry of Health, and with everyone else. But the Council of Governors sought to, like, you want to drive your car and somebody maliciously introduces a puncture on your tires so that you can't move. So because of that, let us grant them their wish of the 30 days jail term. Those of us who shall get time, we shall rotationally go and keep vigil with those who are in Langata, those who are in Kilimani, whoever they are. Yeah. And after all that is done, we shall come back to the facts. The fact of the matter is, on 6th of October 2016, Honorable Justice Mondi Kambaru gave direction on which issues we should sit down and resolve. Those issues remain. So Honorable Peter Munya, those issues remain. Whether the doctors go to jail or they are out walking, those issues remain. So personally, I'm not in the mood to find fault, even with the judiciary, because within the constitution of this republic, the judiciary exists as a neutral arbiter. They were moved by a party with ill intentions called Council of Governors. They pressed on, knowing fully well that the contempt proceedings were derailing every single effort. I know
You've been watching doctors being addressed there at the Railways Club. This after the KMPDU officials have been whisked away after being arrested. They are to serve a 1-month jail term. All this a result of the doctor strike and the court ruling. Well, now we've got the former LSK chair president, that is Eric Mutua, joining us live on phone. Good morning, Smriti Vidyarthi here, and my colleague Ken Mijungu, senior reporter and also lawyer. What do you make of the developments so far?
Good morning. I think on my part, what I can do is to make a general comment, because I'm not fazed of the facts of the case, but I'll only make a comment based on this development.
Go ahead.
Yes. I think the judge was under a very difficult time, because she had to balance between upholding the right of any citizen to picket, as the doctors have done, and the right to strike, as is guaranteed under the Constitution, but at the same time wanting to protect the dignity and the authority of the court in telling the public that any person is obligated to uphold and obey a decision which has been rendered by a court of law. And therefore, faced with those two competing interests, I may not fault the judge as much, because when she was undertaking that balance, it became important that she first and foremost sends a message to the public that unless we always adhere to a decision from a court of law, what is likely to happen is that we may end up with a breakdown of law and order. So that all is not lost in my view. I think there's still a chance where probably the doctors can, or the officials can purge that concept by showing some bona fide action in coming to the negotiating table and trying to negotiate the dispute out of court. Once that is done, there is nothing which prevents the doctors from approaching the court even tomorrow or the day after tomorrow to tell the court that now we are doing this and we are serious on this, and the court will listen and review that decision and set aside the sentencing.
Right. Ken, as a lawyer, what is your question to the former LSK president?
Mr. Mutua, the judge last week, before she added this other 5-day period for negotiations and mediation led by Court Secretary General, said it was the first time she was invited to this case, and she said it's because she's committed to seeing a solution, she's going to grant a further 5 days for the mediation. And today, by making that ruling, because we know she's functus official right now, is taking these people to jail 30 days, which means in her mind, did she see that for the 30 days, what she has been trying to do for the last 1 month, it will not be possible, because once she sends them to jail, it means even negotiations will not happen. Then it means also for her, her attempt at resolving this case now stalls.
Well, as you put it, it's true that she tried to bend backwards as much as she can. She was reluctant, and you could see that, to send these doctors to jail, because that is not going to resolve the dispute. And when she became faced with a scenario where not getting any results from attempts to reconcile the parties, then she basically did what she could to tell them that this is a court of law, and the court of law has teeth to bite when it is faced with a situation where people are disobeying the court order. I don't think anyone can really fault the judge.
And her major concern, Mr. Mutua, was the image of the court. Has she salvaged it? Because as at last week, there was real fear that the public was going to view the court as that without teeth to bite. Do you think by making this ruling today, and regardless of every submission that was made by both parties, including in the contempt and review, obviously, she has gone ahead to hand this jail sentence, do you think she has salvaged that image that was in danger last week?
Yes, I think I agree with that opinion that situation so that it is not perceived by the public that courts issued orders in vain. Courts make decisions which can be disobeyed by parties without recourse, without any remedy by the court itself. I think she salvaged the situation to some extent.
And was this handled the best way possible by the court?
Well, as I said, I do not have a lot of facts of the case, but following from media reports, I think the judge handled it in the best possible scenario.
Okay, all right. Eric Mutua, thanks very much for your input into this issue. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Well, joining us live on phone, Eric Mutua, the former LSK president, giving his input to the court ruling that really determined that the KMPDU officials be arrested and sent to jail for 1 month. This is NTV Today. We've been bringing you live coverage throughout the morning. Earlier on your screens, you were watching the doctors, those who are striking, being addressed at a public forum at the Railways Club. We also have plenty of feedback for you on social media. We'll bring that to you shortly. Ken, any comments based on what the former LSK president has said, and also Francis Atwoli?
Obviously, Eric Mutua had to take such a stance because being an officer of the court, a lawyer, you are just basically supposed to bring the court into making the right decision by aiding the court to make that right decision. And we saw earlier, actually, one of the lawyers, Edwin Sifuna, addressing the doctors where they are now congregating. It only means one thing. They already started seeking legal advice as to what is the next step to take. And the question that is fundamentally not being answered here, Smriti, is what happens going forward? Is it possible that now that the judge, with her own discretion, and of course that discretion is handed over by the law, could there be a possibility that they could get bail and get out and continue with negotiations? And the other question that perhaps we need to ask right now is that if the doctors did not fear going to jail, they pushed it to the final logical conclusion, and they have stated that we were prepared to go to jail. What happens next?
Yeah.
What happens next?
Well, that is indeed the big question, considering that these KMPDU officials are in jail, but we still have hundreds and thousands of suffering Kenyans in public hospitals awaiting treatment that they simply aren't going to get anytime soon. Let's put our focus now on you. You have been sending in your comments via social media. All right, but before we turn our attention to you, let's just cross over back to the doctors who are being addressed and get more of a sense of what's happening there.
So guys, let government know that you can't even talk about a no negotiation will take place. Who even thinks about which negotiation? We are not negotiating anymore. Our CBA and arrears. Today the keyword is arrears. That's the keyword. CBA, if they are going to be in jail for 1 month, it's going to be 1 month that Kenya will never forget. It's going to be business unusual. Yeah? Because we cannot drag a check for 71 days. We beg them to come talk. They gave us a mediation process that they sent junior officers. Then they keep on dangling that we will jail you. It has now occurred. So what? Yes. Trust me, we were already in a very, very flammable situation, very, very crazy, and government has struck the matchbox. Let it burn. How? That Wasilo can lecture us on some fake laws for 30 minutes, then give such a stupid decision. You know, we have to get to that point in this country, where we have to be real. Cindy, we guys have we have prepared some of the negotiation. We guys conceded a big one. To a point that we just told them, give us the social gains. Just the fact that I and my girlfriend can enjoy can transfer to one county and continue our love that began in high school, probably. You know? And this time we are breaking up left, right, and center. The last time their colleague who works in Kakamega, the wife in Mombasa, the car finally engine knocked when they were pursuing love in Mombasa. And the people have suffered as a person. So we even told them, just give us the social gains. You see that? The money we can talk about it later. Just ensure that I don't have to strike for my promotion. I don't have to be given school leave because of my trade, you know? That's how ready you are. You go for meetings, minutes are signed by one side, the other side refuses to sign. See that? We guys are not unreasonable. That one we know for sure. Simple. But at this point, the only thing I have to tell you guys, if your anger can light up fire, let it light up fire. And let that fire be within your cycle. Make sure that there is no doctor wherever they are. Yeah? Tell them to come to Nairobi. Those who have houses in Nairobi will host them. Yeah? Because our profession needs us right now. No, let me tell you a story why private sector has to come on board, yeah? No government, why government stuck with this 196,000 nonsense? Yeah? The guy in charge of Kenya private health sector, whatever you group now, said that the much they are willing to add their doctors in private sector was 70K. So currently they are earning 180. So that will make private sector doctors earn 250. And at any given time they don't have to earn more than us by averagely 50K. So now they show that if they are going to pay theirs 250, you guys have to be stuck at 200 max. You get that? That's why they have refused to move from this. So they are thinking in all that, they have been stuck with this thing that we cannot add them something that the private sector won't be able to sustain on the other end. You get the kind of thinking that informs people in this country. So even if, and these private guys, they have to know that doctors are not plucked from trees. They won't get, even if they start you today, they'll have to employ you tomorrow. I've told my friends in the so-called middle class. The middle class, we just one salary away from poverty. That we are going, yes, actually it's a floating class. We are told, as in, we pray that they keep alive in the next 1 month. Because the pain that we are feeling, everybody will have to feel it. We have felt it for 71 days, and everybody have to feel the pain. There's no way doctors in this country can make legitimate demands and somebody sits back and says that they're going to jail. Jail who? They might have jailed the guys, but they cannot jail the resource. Senior, they cannot jail the resource. And I can tell them for free that if they thought Kenya Oluga were intransigent on Calstrand, they didn't see anything just yet. They have not met the matron and the union psychopath. All we are asking of you guys is that we have to stop doing business as usual. Remember, you sit back waiting for live feeds hapana. Tukisema ni night vigil, ni night vigil. It's now we are meeting here, we meet here. Unaelewa? When we say jump, we ask how high. When I say meconium, you ask which grade. That's right. It has to be 1 month of a very, very bumpy ride. I know when you do it right, even 1 month won't be there. The appeal is coming up on Wednesday and all that. Senior. But even that 1 hour, that even if they release them today, that 1 hour that our people spent in jail, they must pay for it. Look, I said one thing. The more painful they make it, the sweeter the victory will be. See that? The more painful they make it, the sweeter the victory will be. And the more they hurt us, the more will be harder. So today we are telling them that we have rolled back all those concessions we made. Today we are talking arrears. Mambo ya CBA hiyo tushasema for 71 days. Umesikia? Mimi sitaki kusikia guys still arguing about very average things like auto clothes, have to pay rent and loan. Who does not pay loans? Yeah? Because we are at a point that we cannot just sit back, guys. Can you imagine after all this kind of pain, then you go back to the county? Yeah? If during that period that you guys are nice, no, we have been so nice to them for a very long time, and you still see that and consultants in job with M. Doctors in Nairobi County stayed 6 months without a salary. Oh no! Yeah, I mean, these guys are working. I remember when I was posted in my county, I said 5 months without salary. You know, I borrowed everybody. Mpaka nikarudia lapi ya pili. I couldn't borrow anymore. And to know that you could have been anything you wanted to be. Yeah? Karibu. Escalate! Escalate! Yeah, thank you. We take note of your presence, Bwana Mwangi. Karibu. Yeah? To just know that you could have been anything you wanted to be. But you chose to be a doctor. And not only to be a doctor, you chose to be a doctor in Kenya. Stick your neck for this big mess. You know? Then this how they pay us back. As in, after all this is how they pay us back. I don't know. But Kenya will have to decide whether they want doctors or not. We'll either see that in Kenya public healthcare is run by CEOs and nurses. If you say a doctor.
You've been watching doctors there being addressed at the Kenya Railways. This after their senior officials have now been taken to prison to serve a 1-month jail term. We've been covering all the events this morning live for you right here on NTV Today. Earlier this morning, we had Brenda Wanga live in the Milimani Law Courts, Andrew Ochieng outside the Law Courts. With me here in studio, Ken Mijungu, our senior reporter and lawyer as well, giving his input on that ruling. And also we spoke to the COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli and the LSK former President Eric Mutua. Plenty more coming up on NTV Today. After the break, we will sample some of your comments and feedback based on this morning's dramatic developments. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Do stay with us on NTV Today. We're taking a short break.
This is NTV.